West St. John's, they stick up the guy, they're supposed to automatically call animal control, and they drop the ball on that. The dog is not yet impounded.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
They went into second time.
Oh, that's crazy. Oh, thank you.
That's the direction that we got to go.
077 is it?
Building plan is fine.
You can watch it on your YouTube anytime now. No.
Yeah.
Are they going to do a presentation on it?
Yeah, it was number 5.
May I ask you a question?
That against the order? Not against council?
No, we're good with that. We're comfortable, we're comfortable, right?
5:30, Mayor. Your Jets to sense up. It's 5:30. That's what I just said.
Just to try to make
I have
the mayor
none.
do it and he
I'm
won't
not
do it.
virtuous.
It's 5:30.
No.
I'm sorry. They
Thank
waiting
you.
on me. John, we better get up. We better work on
I
getting
know.
up so we're on time. Oh, you're fast.
He's going to be a no tonight.
But I wanted to, just trying to.
Hey, come on.
Okay.
Smart, gentlemen.
Okay. Thank you.
My gosh.
The March 15th, 2021 meeting of the City Council, City of Springfield, Illinois is called to order. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Clerk, if you please call the roll.
Alderman Redpath.
Here.
Alderman Gregory.
Here.
Alderman Williams.
Here.
Alderman Fulgenzi.
Present.
Alderwoman Purchase. Alderwoman DeCenso.
Present.
Alderman McMiniman.
Here.
Alderwoman Connolly.
Present.
Alderman Donlin.
Here.
Alderman Hanauer.
Here.
Mayor Langfelder.
Here.
Mr. Mayor, a quorum is present.
Thank you. We do have one proclamation for the Kiwanis. I believe if Tim Eggleston and anybody from the Kiwanis is here, if you'd like to come forward. Hello. Tim. Hey. Yep. Just a personal introduction. Mr. Dunn, I call him Mr. Dunn. He actually was at Blessed Sacrament when I was there, I believe. Yep. And he showed me how to throw a football correctly, but I didn't have the stature. So that's where I ended up. But he's a great teacher, too, math teacher. And that's, kind of represented what the Kiwanis is all about. It's how do we improve our community, and they've done a great job, and we're celebrating a century of success. And it reads, whereas rooted in its international mission to serve the children of the world, we pay special tribute to the Kiwanis Club of Springfield downtown as they celebrate a century of successes. And whereas the Kiwanis Club of Springfield downtown was chartered on February 3rd, 1922, and its formation celebrated on March 8th, focused on serving the community, especially the children in Central Illinois. And whereas this commitment of Springfield youth was demonstrated in its first decade of service with its sponsorship of Boy Scout Troop 35 and through the Kiwanis Club of Springfield downtown's efforts to raise funds for the construction of a Girl Scouts summer camp. And whereas in 1947, the Kiwanis Club of Springfield downtown began its commitment and support of several area high school key clubs, including Lamphere, Vicens, which is now Southeast, Griffin, now Sacred Heart Griffin, Chatham, Glenwood, Springfield High, Riverton, Petersburg, and New Berlin, impacting nearly 25,000 high school students. through its sponsorship, and whereas the Kiwanis Club of Springfield Downtown joined other Springfield area Kiwanis clubs to raise funds for Kiwanis Park and the Kiwanis Soccer Field at Sangamon State University, now the University of Illinois Springfield, which was home of the national champion soccer team, the Sangamon State University Prairie Stars, and whereas the Kiwanis Club of Springfield Downtown has collaborated with numerous local organizations to provide a helping hand, from collecting food donations to volunteering at the Children's Miracle Network 5K races. In 2017, they partnered on a multi-year effort with HSHS St. John's Hospital, Children's Hospital, providing resources for nursing staff to care for children, beginning in the neonatal intensive care unit and expanding to surgery, pediatric rehabilitation, and the emergency department with their K-carts. And whereas the Kiwanis Club of Springfield Downtown has focused on inclusivity, whoa, you didn't teach me English, so it wasn't yours. Inclusivity for area youth and the ability for all to have fun, which has showcased with its donation to the Springfield's Park District of a fully accessible playground facility at Southwind Park. Most recently, it also added reading nooks and area laundromats, providing the joy of books to children and their caregivers. And whereas, as the saying goes, 100 years from now, it will not matter what our bank account was, or the sort of house we lived in, or the kind of car we drove, but the world may be different because we were important in the life of a child. Thank you to the Kiwanis Club of Springfield Downtown and its membership for over 100 years of showing the importance of caring for the youth in our community. Now, therefore, I, James O. Langfelder, Mayor of the City of Springfield, along with our City Council and residents, do hereby proclaim that Tuesday, March 8th, 2022 shall be Kiwanis Club of Springfield Downtown Day in the City of Springfield, and recognize the tremendous impact you have had on Springfield over the last 100 years. So congratulations.
Thank you very much. Well, first of all, I want to go ahead and thank also a member of the City Council, Mr. McMiniman, who's a member of our club. There he is. Yeah. And two of the programs that the mayor mentioned, the Laundromat Libraries, which we've just started, is due to Amanda here. And then also, Tom helped out for the carts for the kids at St. John's Hospital. So that's been a real bonus for us to be able to help the children of the community, and we hope to do so for another 100 years. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The first item on our zoning agenda is docket number 2022-009 for the property located at 14 Island View Lane. Petitioner is Richard and Amanda Cooley. Present zoning classification is R1, single family residence, section 155.016. Is there a motion?
Mr. Mayor, even though I'm opposed to this ordinance, I'm going to ask to be held for 30 days. We're going to do some reviews on some of the docks and other things out to the lake.
There's a motion to hold it for 30 days.
Second.
And second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is docket number 2022-010 for the property located at 1211 South 6th Street. Petitioner is Capital City Development, LLC. Present zoning classification is R5B, General Residence Office District, Section 155.021. Requested zoning relief, a variance of Sections 155.091A and B. Required accessory off-street parking spaces, residences, and 155.097A, required accessory off-street parking spaces, office buildings for the proposed development to allow 9 accessory off-street parking spaces instead of the 15 spaces required by code. 155.056, maximum lot area per dwelling unit, and 155.057, additional lot area for mixed buildings to allow the proposed rehabilitation of the property with the desired 4 apartment units. one office unit and a single-family dwelling unit on a lot containing 11,743 square feet of a lot area instead of the 18,303 square feet of lot area required per code, and 155.061 basic yard requirements to allow a 0-foot rear yard setback instead of the 20 feet required, allowing the residential development of the brick 3-car carriage house located on the rear of the property. Amended request for zoning relief. Petitioner has stricken paragraph 8, which takes out the proposed professional office space on the 3rd floor. The amended requested relief is for 4 apartments in the main building and 1 residence in the carriage house. This eliminates the variance request for sections 155.091 A and B and 155.097A. Amended Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff recommendation is approval of the amended petition limited to no more than 4 dwelling units in the main building and no more than 1 single-family residence dwelling in the carriage house, provided that a parking space and a compliance of the Illinois Accessibility Code can be provided to the traffic engineer at the building permit stage. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is accept the amended recommendation of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff. Chair will entertain a motion.
Yes, I move to accept the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Commission amended recommendation.
Second the motion.
Second.
It's been moved to accept the amended Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff recommendation. Second, any discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. And the zoning request as amended by the staff passes 10 voting yes, none voting no. Next item on the agenda is docket number 2022-011 for the property located at 3001 and through 3091 South Dirksen Parkway, part of PIN 22-12.0-301-035. Petitioner is Capital City Trust, care of Mid-America Asset Management, Inc. Present zoning classification is S2, Community Shopping and Office District, Section 155.031, and B1, Highway Business Service District, Section 155.033. Requested zoning relief reclassification to B1, Highway Business Service District, Section 155.033, and on the condition upon or re-coordination of a final plat or subdivision creating the subject lot. Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff recommendation is approval of the requested rezoning to B1. As part of its request, the petition includes the following sentence. Wherefore, petitioner requests that a reclassification be granted to have the subject lot be placed in the B1 Highway Business Service District, Section 155.033, upon recordation of the final plat of subdivision creating the subject lot. Staff concurs with this statement. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is accept the recommendation of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff. Chair will entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I ask that we accept and approve the recommendation from the Sangamon Planning.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion with the acceptance of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. And the zoning request passes 10 voting yes, none voting no. Next item on the agenda is docket number 2022-012 for the property located at 1035 North MacArthur Boulevard. Petitioner is Canal Corporation. Present zoning classification is R2, single family and duplex residence district, section 155.017. Requested zoning relief, a variance of section 155.153, enlargement and extension of a non-conforming use, and section 155.156, requirements for approval of enlargement of extension to allow an enlargement or extension in a residential district, specifically to allow use of the area identified on Exhibit A as a garage area for storage purposes only, and to enclose and use the area identified on Exhibit A as a beer garden, the enclosure of which will cause the two separate structures to become one, which is approximately 1,570 square feet. Section 155.156A, to allow an enlargement to exceed 125% of the area occupied by the nonconforming use. And on July 22nd, 1966, section 155.056C, to allow the extension without increasing the number of accessory off-street parking spaces, Section 155.061 C and D, basic yard requirements to allow the existing building rear yard setback of approximately 0 feet instead of 20 feet required, and existing building side yard setback north property line of approximately 1 foot instead of the 12 feet 6 inches per code, and an existing building side yard setback south property line of approximately 1 foot instead of 3 feet per code, allowing the existing total of both side yard setbacks approximately 2 feet instead of the minimum 10 feet per code, and an amendment to modify a language of zoning relief granted in docket number 2002-018 with the modified language of the zoning relief granted in docket number 2002-018 with the condition that the area close cease operation at 10 o'clock and there be no outdoor music or speakers, with the modification being to allow the use of the garage and beer garden until 11:30, and the newly enclosed beer garden be allowed to have television. Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff recommendation is denial. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is accept the recommendation of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning staff. Is there a motion?
Yes, Mayor, I make a motion for the North MacArthur approve the petition as submitted with restrictions to Thursday, Friday, Saturday with extended music to 11:30.
Second.
So it's been motioned and seconded to accept the petition as submitted and approve the outdoor music till 11:30 on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And second, any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, are there any persons here to discuss this?
Yeah, we have George Tinkham had signed up to speak to this. Or someone like to come up and state your name and address for the council, we'd appreciate it.
Mr. Tinkham, I think, is going to yield to me first. I'm Patrick Sheehan. I represent Miss Franny Kempesty. She lives at 1008 West Elliott, which is directly west of this bar. They share a property line. Miss Kempesty is not able to be here tonight. I can represent to the council that she's an individual who has a lot of trouble getting around. She's wheelchair bound. She has pulmonary issues. She's not comfortable being out in public at this stage of her life and with conditions that she's got going on. So she sent me, she's also submitted a letter that I think passionately explains her problems with this request. This request is not the first time this corporation actually has been before this body to ask for this exact relief. And I think that's very important because we have to look and see what has changed. A very similar request was here before the council in 2018. That's docket number 2018-31. In that request, Canal Corporation, same petitioner, was asking for an enlargement of the space, etc. That was denied by the city council. Nothing has really changed since that time. In 2020, they again made a similar request. That request was, the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission was deny the petition. Petition was subsequently withdrawn. Again, what has changed? The only thing that's changed is they went ahead, did the work without a permit, without inspections, so now the work's already done. Now they're asking for forgiveness. Are we really going to condone that type of behavior? Where these people go, whether it's the person who is now behind the corporation or not, but it's still the corporation, he bought the property with this issue present with constructive knowledge of the issue. I think it is also important to point out that there's not been a single shred of evidence at any point in this proceeding that shows that the standards of variation have been met. The petition is lacking in any description as to how the standards of variation are met. The staff has indicated in their recommendation that the standards of variation were not met, and the Planning and Zoning Commission, which is the fact finder to determine that, has also rejected that the standards of variation are met. In 2018, Ms. Kempesty begged and pleaded for you for her quality of life. The person who is most impacted by this decision is her. She lives there. She lives it. She breathes it 24/7. You didn't let her down in 2018. Thankfully, the issue didn't get before you in 2020, but here we are again tonight. We're asking that you please not let her down. The decision should be to reject this petition, listen to the staff, listen to the Planning and Zoning Commission, the fact finders who said standards of variation are not met. Thank you.
Any questions? Is there anybody, Alderman Hanauer and then Alderwoman DeSenzo?
Real quick, what is the current time limit for outdoor music in the city of Springfield? I know county has some different times. What is it in the city?
10.
Corporation Counsel?
10 o'clock.
Or Matt, or Linda can speak to that.
The city does not have a time limit. It's reasonable, unreasonable noise for the time and place. Let's say your neighbor's having a big party outside. You can call the cops. If they come out and find the music is unreasonable for the time of day, they can cite. But we do not have a time limit.
Press down on the mic, please.
I apologize. We
Try
don't
to-
have a strict time limit.
Right.
An event might have a time limit, but as far as most of it's what's reasonable or unreasonable, and it's determined by the police officer if you're called out. If you're having a party at 1 o'clock in the afternoon, what's reasonable is different than a party at 1 a.m. If you have an event, there is a time limit.
And that's what I think I was referring to, an event, because I know out at the lake, I thought it was 10:30 is when music had to shut down, even for like the chicken fries or whatever.
Oh, it was 10.
Well, I think it varies downtown. They've been, they go till 11 at times, so it depends on the event and the reasonableness of that.
The lake also has some special rules because it's lake lease area.
Yes.
Okay.
Alderwoman DeSenzo?
Yes. So, well, two questions. One, they want to go till 11:30 on Thursday nights? And that's inside music or outside music?
I will refer to, can you come
You'd have to
closer?
come to the podium, please, and state your name, address for the council. We'd appreciate it.
Justin Unkin, counsel for the petitioners. The music, the petition is to enclose a part of that area. The TVs that are going in there are inside that area, so they're not going to be outside. There's
But
no-
can you hear them outside?
Like if doors or windows were open, in theory, you might be able to hear them outside. But there's not going to be music or events outside on that area. It's essentially just, the outside area is basically just a smoker's area for the most part.
Okay, like other places have.
Yeah, it's something
Okay.
like that, yeah.
But no bands, right? I'm sorry, Mayor.
No bands, no live
ba-
music?
No live music outside.
Okay.
Music till 10, I think, or is there no music at all?
There won't be any music outside. The reason we included it in the petition was because the restrictions that were placed on it in 2002 when the beer garden was granted, there was to be no, sound essentially. And they want to have TVs inside that area. So to, make it make sense for everybody, we asked that they could allow TVs and things like that inside the enclosed area, not outside.
I think 11:30 is a little late on a Thursday night. I'm an early bird, so if I were a neighbor, that would bother me. I'm in the office by 7 a.m. I think 11:30 is kind of pushing it. The weekends, I get it. But my other question was for Mr. Sheehan, and I wanted to know if you had an objector's petition.
We do not have an objector's petition. The reason why we don't is because if you look at the state statute, which affixes the vote requirement, it would be the exact same as if we would have submitted an objector's petition. She has objected every opportunity she has been provided.
She has.
So I didn't feel it was necessary. That was legal strategy on my behalf because I knew that the state statute said what it said about there needing to be a vote of 2/3 to pass since it didn't pass planning and zoning.
But this council doesn't operate that way, just an FYI.
Well, I know it's in the agenda and I know it's on the docket that you should be on notice of that issue.
You were the first one to ever make me aware of that issue yesterday. And I've spoken to some other older people, and they were not aware of that either, so just an FYI. I think that's all the questions I have.
Alderwoman Conley?
Thank you. Actually, and I have a question for the petitioner's attorney, or if the petitioner's here. I would just like a little more understanding. When you say enclosed area, are those complete walls? Will this have its own separate heating, cooling system? Or is it just like you're kind of boxing in a space that's not intended to be used during the winter?
So originally, when the beer garden was granted, it's essentially, there's the bar, then there's a back building, which was an
I'm
apartment
actually
and garage.
familiar with the building, yeah.
Okay, so that interior area had the carport ceiling with the fences on each side. I think about an 8-foot fence on one side and a 4-foot fence on the other. Essentially, it's just enclosing that area and willing to come within any regulations for an enclosed area as far as heating and cooling and things like that.
Because enclosed has a different sort, I mean, you say enclosed to me, and I'm thinking that sound can get out better from an uninsulated.
Exactly, it is insulated.
Okay,
That's the whole
thank
point
you.
of
That
doing
was my
it, to
question.
dampen Sound for the neighbor.
Okay,
If
so
you
there
could,
will be
use the
insulation in
mic
that
when you're
space
speaking.
and.
I
That'd
can
be
show you a
helpful.
picture of it if you'd like to see.
Sure.
That was one thing I did want to mention is that we've tried to reach out to the neighbor to open a line of communication and work with her. I know that before the previous owner, she had a good relationship with the bar owner, and we would like to get back to that. We understand her concerns being relatively close and having line of sight into that area, but
Too much going on.
Sorry.
we haven't gotten far with her, but we're willing and able to open that line of communication if she has questions, if she has issues, to call Myron and do that. And we're not we're not trying to make her life worse by doing this. So,
Mayor?
Alderman Donlin, and Alderwoman Purchase, and Alderman Gregory.
Thank you, Mayor. I had a question of the objector's attorney. Is the objection to any sound, or is it just to music? Like,
Yeah,
is the TVs really that big of a deal to the objector?
I think if it all stops at 10, she's happy, like it's in the ordinance about, in 2002. Anything past 10, I think, is when she wants to go to bed.
So 10 every night, meaning weekends as well?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. And my next question, Mayor, is, I guess, to Corporation Counsel or Mr. McLaughlin or Mrs. O'Brien about, is there a way to structure this so that it only applies to only permits the use of the TVs and not music, since that's not their intent anyway? Or does the language have to be broad?
I think you can provide for a specific restriction. I think you're have to be very careful with trying to be that specific, because if a television has music on it,
right?
You see what I mean? So I think you could try a restriction that limited it just to television, but it's going to have to be very specific, so there's not lack of clarity.
So we don't want to get in specific channels, that's what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Right, just making sure.
Alderwoman Purchase.
So when Myron and his partners reached out to me, they have went around the area as well and spoke to every neighbor and did a petition and got a consent from them. There has only been 2 to 3 calls, and it's been the owner that called if someone he thought may have gotten out of hand or had too much to drink. So there hasn't even been any police issues with this entity. The second thing is the attorney just said she had a great relationship with the previous owner. I would like to afford this owner an opportunity. We have rules in place. If they're broken, we have repercussions for them. But if we sit here and stop him in the beginning, we're not doing a due diligence to him. So I would like to afford him this opportunity and see where we go from there. We always can come back and revisit this if something gets out of hand. So I would ask for all of you to support.
Alderman Gregory?
My only question, can I see the enclosure of it, how it looks again? Because certainly, what's your name again? Myron.
It's no different than if you were inside the bar.
And this is going on the outside of it?
This is, what you see right here is you walk out the back door of the actual bar structure. This used to be a carport and it's been boxed in. So it's no different than being inside. For instance, as far as the TVs being there where there's music.
Go to the microphone. Appreciate you.
As far as the TVs being there and being a concern, it's no different than her neighbor that would be 3 feet from her, having her TV on 24 hours a day. We're 63 feet away from her, and I have the closest neighbors here with me, and they don't have a concern about it.
So let me ask you this next question. Why do you want to go to 11:30 on Thursdays? I can see it for the weekend.
To be honest with you, it's all about, that's a smoking area. I got with the health department, they came out during COVID and said, this is what I need to do. So I based it off of that, and then we went ahead, and the frame was already there. We basically just did cosmetics work, other than putting dampening, sound dampening.
Right.
We figured that if everybody was inside, that eliminates the noise problem. That's the fix. By what we have solves the solution.
Is this a 1 o'clock bar, or do you?
Yes, it's a 1 o'clock bar.
It's a 1 o'clock bar.
You know what I mean? And at the end of the day, I mean, if we do 10 o'clock and everybody had to be out, or even at 11 o'clock, everybody that's smoking, they're going to be outside. That's going to be more of an issue than everybody contained inside. So you're not to make everybody leave and go outside and smoke. That doesn't solve the problem. That makes it worse.
I understand. All right. Thank you.
I guess with the objector's attorney, is the issue the TVs or the individuals using that space?
It's all of that. The other issue I think that staff has fleshed out for us is there's a problem with parking as it is in this bar. They're making the area bigger so they can accommodate more patrons, but they aren't accounting for any parking. Yes, this is a neighborhood tavern. It's operated since 1966, and it operated without issues until within the last 5-10 years. And it operated within the confines of the rules that were in place. Why can't it continue that way? We talked about some of the objectors or the supporters of the neighborhood this time around. I think it's important for the council to see what was circulated and see how that compares to the request in the petition, because it's different. It's drastically different. If we could incorporate the objector's petition from the docket in 2018-031, there's a lot more signatures here that this is of record in that proceeding that show people that are not in favor of it. And again, what has changed since then? Nothing. They're asking for the same stuff. So it's going to drastically change the landscape of the area. It's going to make things noisier. It's going to make people get closer to her house. And we aren't accounting for any additional parking. That's a huge concern.
Alderman Hanauer?
So Pat, what if, I'm just throwing this out here, just to, what if we go to 10:30 on Thursday night?
I'm fine with that. Myron, are you fine with that? He said yes.
I just want to see if that would satisfy the, I mean, a weekend's a weekend. I think 10:30 is a fair time during the week. I'm like Alderwoman DeCenso. I'm not usually out too much later than that on a
Closing in
weeknight.
with y'all.
I'm fine with that.
I don't have any authority, I'm sorry. I would have to call my client to see, but I don't even know if she would be a party to something like that. But I think there needs to be some clarity as to what is permitted, because I think the motion was outdoor music. And I hope that's not allowed, because that is way different than a TV being on.
Corporation Counsel.
Actually, Matt, if you would, can you weigh in on that with regards to the petition as submitted pertaining to any outdoor music?
The petition isn't asking for outdoor music. It's asking for music inside the enclosed beer garden area.
And I never, for the record, I never stated outdoor.
So just to be clear, it is music within the enclosed area that used to be the beer garden, right?
Correct.
So there is music allowed for what we're talking about, where the televisions are and all that.
So I think we need to know what that means. Does that mean like karaoke? Does that mean acoustic band or acoustic guitar player? What? I I mean, it hopefully is not any live music, because it's a really small area.
Matt McLaughlin can clarify that,
According to the petition, it's just the TVs.
or just TV?
Okay.
Okay. Good. So no live music? Very good. Alderman McMinimum.
Yeah, I'm concerned about the bad faith that's been described here, namely the construction activity went forward without any zoning approval. I think that's a problem. And then as far as in the former beer garden, I guess still a beer garden, if folks are watching a sporting event at 10 o'clock, 10:30, 11:30, and the Cardinals win the World Series, is there going to be some loud noise outbursts when that happens? Or the Chicago Bears are playing a West Coast team and they score a touchdown, or the NCAA tournament is taking place? Won't a bunch of people outside be reacting to those sporting events as a collection? So to compare what's going on in that room to that elderly lady and her TV is just a false comparison, as it seems to me.
What I would say to that is that the area that we're talking about enclosing and allowing TVs it is enclosed. It's going to prevent some sound from getting out. I don't think it's going to be all that different than if you were out, across the street from the bar in general. If the Cardinals or the Cubs win the World Series, everyone near a bar is probably going to know about it. The bar is the neighborhood bar. This is not changing the bar almost in any way, other than it's putting up some walls to allow people to go outside. It was done because of COVID. Myron had a health department come in, work with them as to how it would allow people to smoke outside and let people be outside during COVID. Obviously, that's not as much of a concern now with the regulations the way they are, but that was why it was done ahead of time. The other thing I wanted to mention was he purchased the bar about 16 or 18 months ago. The previous owner left some things to fix. This is kind of step 1 and step 2 and step 3 of getting the building in compliance, getting everything on the right page so that he doesn't have any issues going forward. Included in that is having a good relationship with neighbors and things like that.
Any other discussion? So the vote would be 10 o'clock every day except for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. Are you open Sunday? Yes. Okay. And then Thursday, Friday, Saturday, as the petition has submitted, would be 11:30.
No, we just said that Thursday nights would go to 10:30.
Do you want to make an amendment on that?
Yes. Yes, I would like to make an amendment to that motion that Thursday be till 10:30 and Friday.
I'll second that.
I guess, okay, it's been moved and seconded to 10:30. Discussion. I would just say it'd make it a lot simpler through Thursday, all the other days, 10 o'clock, I would think. And then 11:30 on the weekends.
So do
Friday,
I make
Saturday.
another amendment?
That's fine.
Pardon me?
That includes Sunday too?
Sunday at 10?
Yes.
Because what it is right now is, it's my understanding, unless it was originally Thursday, Friday, Saturday, 11:30. Is that correct? And then you said you're closed Sunday or you're open Sunday? Oh, you're open Sunday. So all the other days would be 10 o'clock.
I would be.
Are you fine with
You
that?
can still go smoke, but you gotta turn off the stuff.
Okay, so
10.
now what do I say?
Just restate your amendment.
Amend it to 10 o'clock.
Amended to 10 o'clock on Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Second.
There you go.
Thank you.
Friday and Saturday would be 11:30.
Yes.
Any discussion on the amendment? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
So amendment passes. So motion on the zoning request as amended.
Yes.
Motion for passage.
Second.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as amended, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the zoning request as amended passes, 8 voting yes, 1 voting no, 1 voting present. Next item on the agenda is docket number 2022-013 for the property located at 610 North Grand Avenue East. Petitioner is Salih Kayed Mohammed. Present zoning classification is S3 Central Shopping Business District, Section 155.032. Requested zoning relief, a variance of Section 155.032B, permitted uses in the S3 Central Shopping District to allow a B1 Highway and Service District use, Section 155.033B2, automobile and truck rental establishments, including U-Haul trailers, limiting to no more than 3 U-Haul on the lot at one given time. Amended Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Staff recommendation is approval with the petition limited to no more than 2 trucks that are no more than 17 feet long with no parking on the North 6th Street side. Planning and Zoning Commission recommendation is accept the recommendation of the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Staff as amended. Chair will entertain a motion.
Okay, help me with this motion. I make a motion to accept the recommendation from the Planning and Zoning.
Second.
Been moved and second to accept the Springfield Sangamon County Regional Planning Staff recommendation as approval and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the zoning request passes as amended, 10 voting yes, none voting no. And that concludes the zoning portion of our meeting. At this point in time, the chair will recognize Treasurer Busher for the presentation of the financial report.
Thank you, Mayor Langfelder. The corporate fund in the month of February had a beginning balance of $48,216,581. We took in total receipts of $10,454,473. We had total disbursements in the month of February of $10,113,024, which left the corporate fund with an ending balance in the month of February of $48,558,030. Mayor Langfelder, of that ending balance of the corporate fund, the ARPA balance was $14,587,007. This concludes my report, Mayor Langfelder.
Great. Is there a motion on the financial report?
move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the February 22nd, 2022 special city council meeting and approve the minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to dispense with the reading of the minutes of the March 1st, 2022 regular city council meeting and approve the minutes.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council reading of the first reading of ordinances in the record of this city council meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. The chair will entertain a motion to incorporate the pre-council reading of the consent agenda into the record of this city council meeting.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. There's a discussion. We need a motion to amend to hold agenda number 2022-076 till the next city council meeting to republish the annexation.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion on holding 2022-076? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Is there any discussion on the consent agenda with the holding? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to place the consent agenda on final passage.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. And the consent agenda passes 9 voting yes, none voting no. Agenda number 2021-336, 2021-337, 2022-005, 2022-033 remain tabled or in committee. Is there any movement on any of those?
Mr. Mayor.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Alderman Williams?
I would like 2022-033 to be removed.
Second.
It's not going to happen, so we don't need that resolution.
Okay. So there's a motion to remove and withdraw. Is that correct?
Correct.
2022-033, resolution referring to a petition of Springfield Planning and Zoning Commission for for a public hearing and consideration proposing an amendment to Chapter 155, Section 155.496 and 155.497 of the 1988 City of Springfield Code of Ordinances as amended pertaining to cannabis organizations modifying separation provisions. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. It's been withdrawn.
Thank you.
And then 2020, Alderman Redpath.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to bring 2022-005 to the floor for discussion.
Second.
Been moved and second to discuss 2022-005 for discussion. That's an ordinance authorizing a supplemental appropriation in the amount of $530,000 from the city's corporate ARPA funds to the Water ARPA Fund and authorize accept and proposal number UW 22-26 with Axom Water Care, Inc. for the purchase of lake recirculation equipment in an amount not to exceed $530,000 for the Office of Public Utilities.
Mr. Mayor.
Yep. Alderman Redpath.
As you all know, we've been considering this ordinance for some time. The CWLP brought that to us in an attempt to try to alleviate the problems we were having with the taste and the smell of our water. There's been a lot of talk around this and controversy, I think, that we all have been involved in. The mayor and I put together a meeting at the Firefighters Club last week where we had over 200 participants show up and voice their opinions one way or another about the purchase and installation of these solar bee units in Lake Springfield. There was a lot of people from the lake, but there was also a lot of people from not the lake. There was people from around the city who utilize the lake and understand the importance of the activities and the events that we have at the lake. The consensus and the best part that I got out of the discussion was the fact that we don't have enough research, we don't have enough analysis. That we've seen 1 year of a major spike that we don't really know how it came about, and I appraise our utility staff for trying to come up with a solution for this. But the important thing is that we need to think about this a little more before we spend $530,000 on some equipment that the vendor himself just said that he's not sure will work. We did a little research around talking to different places that have these, and there's mixed messages on how they work and if they work. And so I think I'd like to ask this council to withdraw this ordinance and that we go back and do some more research and have another year of analysis, another year of research, and ask for other ideas on how we can make this happen. I don't think that putting 13 solar bees in the north end of Lake Springfield is going to be beneficial for not just the recreational standard, but for the quality of the water. I would ask, and I will make a motion now, that we withdraw this ordinance and ask CWLP to come back with some other ideas. They said that this was, and basically this was a nuclear option. This was the one that we're going to put 13 solar bees in Lake Springfield, and we don't even know if it's going to work. So why not go back and we do some more measurement of our analysis and see if we can find a better solution, and maybe to see if nature itself is going to take care of this thing, because we really don't know. So I present a motion to withdraw this ordinance and ask CWLP to go back and do some more research and get another year under our belt to see if it's even going to happen again.
Second.
There's been a motion to withdraw 2022-005 and seconded. Any discussion? Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Mayor. Alderman Redpath, we've talked about this, and I understand the logic behind it. I will tell you, I did hear from constituents who were not happy with the quality of the water this past fall. So, I echo your appreciation of the CWLP staff. They certainly jumped on this issue and brought forward, one possible solution. I do think they have a fairly healthy understanding of what happened. I might kind of disagree with you on that point. But so I'm hopeful that they can continue to research this and bring us some more some more solutions we can use. We're seeing a change in the hydrology of our lake without those with those units closed, and without that generation and movement. So, you know, again, I support a little more time to look at this, but again, I don't know, I didn't ask them if they had boats, but they were people who drink the city water, and they were concerned. So, look forward to seeing some more research and some more background information from our CWLP staff. Thank you.
Alderman Williams.
Yeah. You know, for me, I did not get the calls about the smell or the taste. So, you know, I guess my ward was lucky, or they didn't feel like it was lasting that long. But I will say drinking water is important, and some aldermen did come forward saying that they received these types of calls and smells and things like that from their constituents. It would never be able to be said that CWLP didn't react or our staff didn't try to remedy this. This is the important part right there. We don't ever want the city to be blamed for doing nothing about it. If we decide to delay this, we are saying that, well, we're going to see again next season if it still stinks or if it still smells. It's not my ward, and I always defer to the alderman of that ward. And Chuck, I'm going to support you on this in hopes that we stand up for our staff when the criticism come in, because we can't have it both ways. Thank you.
And if I could, Mayor
Yep,
Paula?
and then Alderman Hanauer and Alderman Donlin.
Real quick, I think that the concern I have is when the gentleman from Solar, the Solar Bee guy, he said that he didn't know if this would fix the problem, and we could use more. Well, I don't want to see the lake filled up with these things. You know, how do we know, you know, if this doesn't work, do we put 13 more in, or do, you know, and these are used units. Let's be honest about that. I agree. I think CWLP did a great job jumping on top of this, and you know, they do a great job, and that's why our water is the quality that it is. But I just was concerned as soon as the guy said that, it concerned me, because it's not a surefire way, and to use $100 or use $500,000, and then all of a sudden that's not enough. Oh, if you get 13 more, it might work. And then after that, you get 13 more, and pretty soon we got these all over the lake, and that's not acceptable either. So I'm glad we're pulling it and give our staff a little bit more time. I think they jumped on it quick, and they felt like they had to come to us real quick with a solution. And now, you know, maybe we can do more, a little bit more thorough investigations and see if it happens again this year, if it's every 5-year occurrence or whatever. So.
Alderman Donlin, then Alderman Redpath, then Alderwoman DeSenzo.
In the interest of my non-repetitive nature, I defer my time, Mayor. Thank you.
Alderman Redpath, Alderwoman DeSenzo.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to point out, we did approve the purchase of chemicals for this coming year, so we are covered in that regard. And this is in Ward 1, but this does affect the entire city. It affects all of our drinking water. I smelled it, I tasted it, it was not pleasant. So I think if this happens again this year, we do have to look at some option. I'm not saying these units are what we're looking for, but we have to be realistic about what might have to happen if this happens again, because we cannot provide that level of drinking water to our residents. It's unacceptable.
Alderman Redpath.
Again, I wanted to praise our staff for jumping on it quickly. Todd LaFountain did an outstanding job trying to find a solution, and he took some tough questions at the meeting, but stood pretty strong and fast, and you know, the audience that was at the meeting appreciated him standing his ground and telling us what he thought. So I don't want to think that we aren't proud of our staff, because we really do. The people sitting in here are all on board. We all want quality drinking. We all want the best we can get, but there's got to be some other alternatives, and with a little bit more analysis and research, I think we're going to find a better plan. Okay.
I think a couple items. One is what was clear not only then but previously is the data collection. I mean, you look at the pandemic and it's all about data and how do you prove your decisions that you're making. So usually with more time you have better information to make the best possible determination. So usually it's like a 5-year cycle, and we want to make sure that this isn't an anomaly. I mean, it really spiked up severely for Springfield standards, but for other location standards, it was still not as severe. But the other part is with regards to fixing the problem. The one thing I will say, I'll correlate it to downtown flooding. And we had an engineering group that had a proposal and to separate the floodwater, or stormwater, I should say, from the sewage. And other cities have done this, separate it out. The cost of that project was $50 million. And so I said, will $50 million resolve the issue? And the answer was no. They weren't going to say yes, it would. So when we talk about this particular initiative or other initiatives, there's no guarantees. I think nobody's proven that. Otherwise, whoever does crack that formula, that city would probably be above and beyond others and can hopefully profit from it. But the one area that's also brought up that we will take a look at immediately, I talked to Doug Brown about this, and is the pumps, CWLP pumps. And if we can modify the intake, because right now it would pull from the bottom of the lake and then circulate it to the top, and that's where you can run into trouble. So we will meet with the EPA. You have to bring them up to the standards that's acceptable for the fish kill. And so that would take modification of our units, and we're not sure if we can modify it enough to actually make that work. But that's the option that we'll take a look at immediately while we're gathering the data as we move forward. So any other discussion? All those in favor of withdrawing, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is number 2022-027, an ordinance authorizing the exchange of real estate between the City of Springfield and St. John's Hospital of the Hospital Sisters of the Third Order of St. Francis, authorizing the vacation of right-of-way and granting of easements in J. Whitney's addition and Wells and Peck's addition of the City of Springfield, relating to usable section or segment 3 of the Springfield Rail Improvements Project. Chair will entertain a motion to hold public hearing regarding the vacation of right-of-way.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. The public hearing is now open. Does anyone wish to address the City Council regarding the vacation of this right-of-way?
Motion to this.
Entertain a motion to adjourn the public hearing and reconvene the regular City Council meeting.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Chair will entertain a motion to place agenda number 2022-027 on final passage.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the motion passes 11 voting yes, none voting no. Next item on the agenda is 2022-067, an ordinance authorizing leasing of additional vehicles in an amount of $1,839,096 under proposal number UE 21-02, electric T&D truck leasing with Altech Industries, Inc., for a grand total amount not to exceed $3,212,720 for the Office of Public Utilities. Chair will entertain a motion to place agenda number 2022-067 on final passage.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. And the ordinance passes 10 voting yes, none voting no. Next item on the agenda is 2022-073, an ordinance authorizing execution of a contract for purchase of sale of real estate with KJL Enterprises LLC in an amount not to exceed $87,957 with closing costs in an amount of $2,043 for a total amount not to exceed $90,000 for property located at 325 South 11th Street. Chair will entertain a motion to place agenda number 2022-073 on final passage.
So moved.
Second.
Been moved and second. Chair will entertain a motion to discuss proposed amendment number 1.
Second.
Been moved and second to discuss the proposed amendment, and Corporation Counsel, if you go over the amendment, please.
Yes, the effect of the amendment is really a technical change, basically changing the source or the account of the funds from the existing 095 to video gaming. And you may recall that the council had approved a video gaming ordinance some years ago that provided for it being used for infrastructure or other uses as may be designated by the council. So the question was raised with respect to whether or not the original 095 funds could be used for this purpose. Therefore, OBM recommended the change to using the video gaming funds because of the restriction.
Who made the motion on that?
Scott, for the discussion on this, I know I seconded it.
I made the motion.
That's fine.
Alderman Gregory.
I definitely, received Alderman McMenamin's email, and it does make sense. And, with this video gaming funding source, I know there is some concerns with that. I know it's been, designated for certain purposes and, for this project and time's sake, I think, I would like to, introduce an amendment to it to take it from ARPA funds. Rather than that funding source, and I'm open to any other ideas on funding sources.
So there's a motion to change the funding source from video gaming to ARPA funds.
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion on that? All those in favor of the amendment, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Discussion on the ordinance as amended. Alderman McMenamin.
Mr. Mayor, I believe this ordinance is related to the next ordinance.
Correct.
Which involves a total of $250,000 of spending. I think the purpose to raise money and find money for an activity center is a worthy project, but I'm concerned that it's outside the scope of the important city functions that we have to focus on, which is public safety, and the library, which is an important function, and certain other funds are dedicated to other purposes that the city has, including tourism and convention, where we collect the hotel motel taxes. I'm concerned about spending $250,000 on a purpose that maybe would be better promoted by the school district, by the park district, by not-for-profit groups, and so forth. So that's my concern. That'll be the reason for a no vote on this. I think that we just, as a city council, we got to focus on the most important purposes that we have, which is public safety, police, fire, our pensions. And if we spend money on this here, we may wish to have had that $250,000 3 years from now to avoid layoffs, to pay down our pension debt and so forth. I think the goal is worthy. I just think that it's not a function of city government.
Alderwoman Conley, then Alderman Gregory, and I think we do have someone from Hanson to, we asked them to come give an overview, quick overview of the project.
Thank you, Mayor. And I just kind of wanted some clarification, because when this first came up, there was a conversation around that this was part of kind of a longer-term agreement with the city and the county, and that there would be other interested parties getting involved. So if we could maybe just have a little more detail on that. And just, real briefly, I understand where Alderman McMenamin is coming from with his concerns. I will point out, though, with moving this funding to ARPA funds, I mean, first of all, we are required to spend those funds in a shorter time frame, and they wouldn't. I mean, this is kind of that invest in your community concept that is really the underpinnings of those funds. So I appreciate the amendment, Alderman Gregory.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
So if the presentation will kind of go over some of the partnerships that are involved in this, I appreciate that.
My name's Dennis Wilkinson. I'm with Hanson. I'm the project manager for the Springfield Sangamon County Transportation Center. I have a few slides here and a little bit of discussion. I will note that the the program for this proposed activity center is at its infancy stage, and we're working on what that program really is. But I thought to understand the project and the location, it would be good to just generally show the other improvements that are either in progress or in design right now in that immediate area. This is a rendering of showing what's under design right now for the transportation center. And it shows a 3-story atrium that will act as a town square. And an Amtrak facility or station is associated with that, and a parking garage. The next slide, I think there's a little lag. Get to it, so I apologize. There we go. A little small, hard to read. I apologize, but you know, the site for the transportation center is bound by Washington Street to the north, 9th to the west, 11th Street to the east, and then Monroe Street to the south. And you know, the county complex is in the southwest corner. Just to the north of that will be the town square, which will have the Amtrak station. And then just to the north of that is a parking garage. There will be a new pedestrian bridge structure over the rail that connects in with the SMTD facility, which is in the northeast corner. There is a plaza planned as part of the SMTD facility at the south end. That's where Adam Street is now. And then we have a few blocks where some structures have been demolished and some open space right now. Again, I'll note that the activity center is very preliminary at this stage, and we're still working on what that program would be inside of there. And the site itself is bound by the rail right-of-way on the west side, Adams Street on the north, Capitol on the south, and 11th Street on the east. I understand that the Y is currently conducting a community study to determine what the needs are for this type of facility. And within that study, it would be, you know, who would use it, what functions would be inside of it, and those sort of things. So again, our programming will complement that study to figure out what needs to be in this structure. But our preliminary work that we've done so far identifies what we could build on that site. And it's more a square foot kind of considerations right now. This is a view, a very basic view that was put together, just kind of showing its relationship, you know, to the site. We have the SMTD transfer facility and the overpass structure that goes over the rail. That's number 4 up in the upper right corner. The plaza structure just below it. The activity center, which right now is shown roughly about 75,000 square feet. You know, planning some sort of drop off of 11th, a drop off canopy and a structure that would kind of allow for people to access this building not only from 11th Street, but also from Monroe Street, which attaches right to downtown, and some parking. Again, we're working on the program right now, but this is kind of where we're at right now.
Any questions on the presentation? Alderman McMenamin?
I just want to kind of think back to when, as a group, we talked about the use of the ARPA funds, and there was unanimity that we really got to focus on our sewers, because, you know, the Park District can't do our sewers, the not-for-profits can't do our sewers, the school district can't do our sewers, but we can do our sewers. The city has money for that, and so I'm really concerned about taking money away that we could be using for sewers, taking money that could be used for our lead pipes. We've got about 10,000 homes with lead pipes. And again, the churches can't do lead pipes for us. The Park District can't, the school district can't. So I think it's really important to preserve the funds that we have for what we thought to be so important 3 months ago. So that's my concern. I think the activity center is a great idea, even in the face of some really great spaces out in the immediate area. There's Lincoln School, there's the Salvation Army, there's Union Baptist Church, there's Boys and Girls Clubs. We've got the new YMCA that's not too far away. So we've got a lot of good facilities. The high schools are all expanding to provide for spaces for different activities. So But the main point is, I think we got to preserve the funds that the city has for infrastructure and for public safety, and to spend them for those purposes. Thanks for your presentation.
Alderman Gregory, then Alderman Hanauer.
Thank you. Thank you for your presentation, sir. I think that helped. And Alderman Green, I respect totally what you're saying. I think one thing, and Alderwoman kindly touched on a little bit, is about investment. We talk about sewers, we talk about all the good things that we do need to stay focused on. But one thing that I think we all have engaged our minds on is about investing in areas in our community that need it. And that straightaway there along 11th Street is important to the development of not only downtown, but the east side of town as well. And we want to make something really nice of an area that had, old and vacant buildings for some time. And, I support this, and I ask that my colleagues support this amendment.
Alderman Hanauer?
Yeah, I'm concerned that, we put a lot of money in the new Y, and I don't think that's being used to its capacity yet. I know if they're one of the partners, if it comes to their building or this building, eventually they'll pull out to support their own building, because we don't want that downtown Y to fail. My other concern, and I like the project, but my other concern is, what about the Boys and Girls Club? How's this going to affect their programming? How's it going to affect the Salvation Army area? That's what concerns me. I don't want to put something in here that, I guess, is a city are we going to pay to put the building up, or what comes next? And so I don't want to cut those people off at the knees, because we're building a new building, or somebody's building a new building and taking people away from them.
So my follow-up would be just, sure. I can assure you that everybody early, we have, done a good job of thinking that way, of not hurting any other community groups and things of that nature. And as we go along to really put some things together, I think the final plan is going to be a winner for our community, definitely. And the Y itself, so to speak, they're just helping us with some things. But their main area that we just built is definitely their main focus and things of that nature. And we thank them for helping us sort of wrap our minds around what this could be.
I think that's part of the study portion that the YMCA, they brought in an outside consultant that helped with the West Side Y as well as the downtown Y. But with the ARPA funds or any funds projects going forward, I kind of coined the phrase, fill the gap, don't overlap. So that's what we need to do, is fill the gap. There's a gap. That's what we're here to serve, but don't overlap other activities. So that's where the study comes in to show, is there a real need? Just like the Legacy Sports Complex. That's where that study came in. Otherwise, we wouldn't be moving forward with that particular project. So that's the whole intent with ARPA funds, because there's a lot of requests, sewers and everything else. The need is great. So we really need to maximize those resources as much as possible by just filling the gap, but don't overlap services that are currently existing.
Mayor, what other options would we have besides ARPA? I mean, what part of the TIF is that in? Is there other options available?
Yeah, I believe it's in part of the, I'd have to check the TIF, but you can pour it if it's bordering a TIF, so I'm pretty sure it borders or it's on the east side TIF. The other item is, well, let's talk about TIF, right?
Yeah.
It's about not-for-profits, right? And we've already got hammered over the head about that. So, but you look at this development, and that's economic development. That's what it shows. Because if you look at the diagram, it's all one. Number one is the activity center. So that's the proposed project, and it's proposed right now, and they're trying to vet through, or we are all trying to vet through the process. But other resources, you could take it from TIF. We start out with the capital fund, Fund 95, but Alderman McMiniman, rightfully so, brought up the constraints of the ordinance or that fund, and it's for sewers, sidewalks, and roads. And then, so that's why we said video gaming, we thought there's more flexibility in that. And then, so then the ARPA funds is definitely an alternative, as well as, fund balance. So sorry, Alderman Redpath.
So maybe I had to step out, but is there any other partners in this besides the Y? Is there, is the county involved, the state involved, anybody else?
I think when you talk about membership, of course, individuals working downtown would be a prime resource. It's close to the city, the county, the state. You have even the medical community. You have a large workforce right in the area. So I think that's part of the assessment, is assessing the need for membership activities for a healthier lifestyle. And then the other ones, I think they have talked to Boys and Girls Club and talked to other agencies like the YMCA, trying to pull everybody together for this project. But with regards to a community center, when I know people talk about community, East Side, it's been wanted for the East Side for a long period of time. Actually, to give you a little history, I think Senator Durbin had set aside $400,000 for a East Side Community Center way back when. That went for naught. I think those funds went elsewhere. And so this has been desired for a long period of time, but this is a project that would transform and help build the corridor, but be complementary on many different levels associated with the hub, with the rail project, as we move forward trying to develop the whole corridor.
I think my question was directed, is the county or the state pitching in?
Eventually, they will have to.
Is this the extent of the money that you're going to ask the city for?
No, I think that's what the study will come forward with. If you'd like to speak to that, Dennis, on the process.
I didn't say no. I just said I wasn't going to.
Oh, yeah, no.
Yeah, that's part of our programming stage, is to not only develop what the program is for what's going to go in the building itself, but how big it is and where those funding sources are going to
So
come
the study part, I get all that, but what's a guesstimation of what this is going to cost?
Just based on square footage type numbers, if it were to be on the order of 75,000 square feet at construction dollars right now, the construction cost itself would be on the order of $25 million.
25 million?
Yeah. But that's also dependent on how big it ends up being and what goes in.
Okay.
So any other discussion? All those in favor of the...
Whoa.
Sorry, Alderwoman DeSenso.
Thank you.
And then Alderwoman Conley.
I think we just need some more information before we vote on this, because I think there are too many unknowns. I'm very supportive of this whole area. I mean, down the street, we're going to have, probably a national designation for the 1908 Race Riot Memorial. I think this needs to be a little more well thought out, and I think we need some more information before we move forward on these two and spending this money. I don't think $250,000 is, it's a great amount of money, of course, but in the grand scheme of things, and in this development, it isn't a lot of money. As someone who got the least amount of ARPA money for their ward, I'm happy to support this, but I think we need some more information.
Yep. Treasurer Busher, how much is in the ARPA fund? We received 17 million. 1.4 went to the fire department, and how much is left?
$14,587,007, and then Mayor, you're going to get some more money this year.
Right. Thank you. So it hadn't been spent. There's a large sum there still, and actually outside the fire department, we have a microloan program where we leveraged, I think it was about $300,000 for a $2 million loan pool that everybody's benefited from for small businesses. Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Mayor. And actually, the Director probably anticipated my question. Is there a reason why we need to vote on this now? Or, is there some compelling reason why this property needs to be purchased now? Do we have some flexibility? We can come back and revisit this.
Yeah, sure. So it was actually the property owner approached us at the corner that wanted to redevelop the 325 South 11th Street. And once they start redeveloping, and have a tenant in there, the costs are gonna go up substantially. We're gonna have to pay, the value's gonna increase on the property. We're gonna have to pay moving expenses, reestablishment expenses, searching expenses. So it's going to drastically increase the cost. So we thought it'd actually be prudent to buy it ahead of time, before they get tenants in there and do improvements to the property. So to basically save us dollars down the road.
So this is a commercial property that's in use and they have intended tenants that are,
It's a commercial property that is not in use, but they were planning on doing some improvements and getting a tenant in
and
essence in there.
continuing to, and using
They
it.
weren't planning until we offered them money.
Right.
No, we didn't.
Yeah, I
And
think,
how long has that building been empty?
I do not know that at this time.
I mean, I think it was empty the last time I worked downtown, and that's been a stretch, so.
Mayor?
yes, Alderman Hanauer.
Mr. McCarty reminded me with us killing the lake project, that was extra 500,000 is coming back in ARPA. I agree though with Alderwoman DeCenso. I would like to see, I want to know what this is going to cost the city. I want to know who's running it. The city cannot be the person that runs this center. We just can't do that. That's not what we do. I think we do need more information. We need to know, I mean, this came up, it's like it's been a secret or something that all of a sudden this was sprung on us. At least I haven't heard anything of it. And so, I think that I'm not against buying the land, but before anything, I would really like to see what the whole plan is and because I have serious doubts. I do have serious doubts about the YMCA and this project. I just, the west side's, not overutilized, and downtown is brand new, and you're not going to get people from the hospitals come over to this one when that one's right there. I can see the Y from my house. I'm not going to drive downtown.
But it's not a gym. It's
So
correct.
Yes, I don't understand how
Yeah,
you're
it's not
comparing
a
them.
gym. It's not the same thing. You're talking two different things.
Yeah, it's a combination. I think there's meeting space. I think there's, and it still has to be vetted. I don't know if Dennis wants to comment about that, but I think Nate brought up an important item is it's really the timing of securing the parcels. So say we don't find it feasible to move forward with a partnership and the city doesn't have any intention of running it, but that's hopefully it will be valuable property, right? Because you're having the hub, transportation hub. So hopefully you have things grow around it and develop around it. So you're probably at the lowest cost possible right now for purchase. And I think that's where it's important to secure the property. But if you could expand upon what the amenities might be with the activity center. And again, this is just a draft initiative at this point.
Yeah, I mean, part of the study is to determine what needs to be in it, but some of the things that have been discussed are, there would be, basketball courts, let's say, and workout facilities, fitness rooms, potentially some meetings and classroom spaces.
that's exactly like the Y.
And then also a community banquet facility and such things like that. But again, that's part of that community study that's being done.
Alderman Gregory?
So I just would say, the city's not looking to run it. We know better than that. And no, we're not coming back asking for $25 million to build a building. I think it's important for us to be an active partner in this and get these buildings now. So it does give us the real possibility of doing this. No, we haven't talked about it a lot about that space because we don't know exactly what we want to do, but we definitely want it developed, and there's a chance that we can make some things happen and it'd be at a low cost to not only the city but to the county as well. So to make this space nice.
Alderman Donlin.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Alderman, I really don't know a lot about this. However, I find myself asking, you know, what came first, the chicken or the egg? And I understand the sensitivity of needing to do a study and to figure out what could go there, but we know that something is going to be a part of that transportation hub that needs to be done in that area. So although it is a significant amount of money, I think it deserves a look, because, again, chicken or the egg, because if the study came out and you revealed this wonderful item, or a wonderful activity center that was going to be put in that place, the price is only going to go up significantly. So I appreciate the director's comments about that. So I think we should consider finding a way to keep this moving forward but we do need more information. I think Alderwoman DeCenzo is absolutely right. We need to know more about the potential partners, and if the study's going to flesh that out, so be it. So anyway, thank you.
Alderman Redpath?
You know, we find ourselves in a uncharted land here now. This is probably the cheapest we could even get this property. If we buy it, do the analysis to find out exactly what it's going to cost for us to put something in there, and we can't do it, we can still sell the property. I mean, we're going to recover our money. We'd hate to let this get away from us and find out where we want to do this project and have to spend 3 times or 4 times the amount of money to buy it again. So I support we buy it, and I say that then we find out how the research goes.
Alderman McMiniman?
Yeah, I think there's a big problem taking property off the tax rolls, and we don't have a use for it. That's property we have to maintain now. We have to keep it looking good. I don't know where we're going to get $25 million to build an activity center. I think that's a stretch, and I think $250,000 is a lot of money when we have all these other needs. So I think we should stick with our earlier ideas about using the ARPA money, which was, let's focus on the real, true needs out there for our neighborhoods, the sewers, the lead pipes, et cetera. And Mayor, I don't think you meant this, but when you said, you asked our treasurer, how much do we have of ARPA funds, and our treasurer said $14 million. That's $14 million that's sitting in the bank right now, but I think we appropriated in the budget process most of that money. So it's not like it's unappropriated money. That's money we've decided we'll spend it in various ways. And so I hope I kind of like the idea of just holding this for a while and seeing what develops. I think that's a kind of a compromise. But to buy this property without a realistic use is just not what our city should be doing right now with all the other needs that we have.
Any other discussion?
Yes.
Alderman Williams.
I just want to ask you, so when I drive by there, and I said this last week, I was amazed at how the clearings was happening. And in my eyes, and I may be looking at this wrong, those are the last 2 pieces of that huge whatever's happening over there. So much is going on, transportation hub, from Jefferson to Capitol is what I see. And I see 2 little buildings on the corner, and I'm like, because they really are taking down everything.
That's correct.
So I wanted to ask you, is that the last 2 pieces of that complex or this,
Yeah, that's the last 2 pieces. Yes.
So I think they're coming down anyway. Now, they may not come down for this specific person, but somebody said it, purpose. Somebody said it earlier. They said, if we even don't do that, I think it was you, Alderman Donlin, we know something's gonna go there, or we're gonna be able to use it, or like Alderman Redpath said, we'll sell it. But to hold up something that's so magnificent and going on, all because we're wondering, I just think we need to let them come down. Get them, let them come down. Then it's all down, and then we have options if we decide not to go with the activity center. We have options. But I think to say, let's just sit on this, is holding all that up over there, is what I think.
I'll call the question.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion to, as amended, or for the amendment? I don't think we voted on the amendment, take it out of ARPA.
We haven't yet.
Okay, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. So on the motion as amended, Those, any discussion on that? All in favor of the motion as amended, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the motion passes, 9 voting yes, 1 voting no, none voting present. Next item on the agenda is 2022-074, an ordinance authorizing execution of a contract for purchase and sale of real estate with JJ2 Properties LLC, an amount not to exceed $134,400, and closing costs in the amount of $3,000, and for a total amount not to exceed $137,400 for the property located at 321 South 11th Street. Chair will entertain a motion.
I make a motion to amend this, like the last one, to take it out of ARPA funds.
Second.
Moved and second to amend to take the revenue source to purchase the property out of ARPA funds. And second, any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there a motion for approval?
Motion
As amended?
Second.
Been moved in second. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion as amended, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the ordinance passes as amended, 9 voting yes, 1 voting no, and none voting present. Next item on the agenda is 2022-077, an ordinance ratifying a collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Firefighters, Local 37, on behalf of the Springfield firefighters from March 1st, 2021 through February 28th, 2025. Chair will entertain a motion. Place agenda number 2022-077 on final passage.
So
So
moved.
moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I believe
Yep.
we've got some individuals that wish to speak to the issue.
Yeah, we have Beth Rogers.
Thank you, Council. My name is Beth Rogers, and I reside in Springfield. Last week, I was listening to the March 8th City Council meeting on local radio regarding a contract coming up for consideration of ratifying a collective bargaining agreement of the International Association of Firefighters Local 37 on behalf of Springfield Firefighters multi-year contract. The reason why I'm coming here tonight is because one of your aldermen addressed the council on an issue that I and others are also concerned about as well. Some of you may recognize me as I have been to City Hall a few times in the past when Illinois was considering passing the recreational marijuana bill. I and others had brought concerns about Springfield opting in for cannabis dispensaries in our community. I'm here tonight because what Alderman McMiniman spoke about last week is something that I agree with him on concerning city employees' use of cannabis, and I'm sure that many of our good citizens would agree with him as well. From what I understand, there's a policy that allows for city employees to use recreational pot on their own time. However, there is exceptions for police and those who drive CDL and heavy equipment. I'm not a legal expert, I am just a citizen, but my concern is regarding our firefighters and the status of an agreement or ordinance that might give any leeway to them, to that department using recreational marijuana. So first off, I want to say I truly respect our firefighters, police, first responders, and we are thankful for them. I hope that all our firefighters will also be put under the same standards for those positions of great responsibility, just like our police department and heavy equipment drivers. This is a public safety issue. I'm asking for the city to get clarity on the issue and not allow for our firefighters to partake in recreational cannabis, not only for the safety of the citizens, but also the safety of our firefighters. We need higher standards for people in these positions of great responsibility as not to have inhibit judgment. And I will also share with you that 22 years ago, my husband and I lived in a small town, and we went through the tragedy of a fire, suffered loss, including his life-giving medical supplies on a freezing cold December night. However, I am thankful to the local small town fire department who came, friends, neighbors, and church family who surrounded us. And I'm especially thankful to my Lord for getting us through. So as a citizen, I'm asking you to please take a second look at the ordinance and come up with a better solution regarding the firefighters. Because any employee who has had a position of great responsibility, and especially public safety, needs to have higher standards. I want to personally testify that I can live life and handle stress without the need for the marijuana buzz. Even though life is not easy for any of us, as we've noticed these last few years, the Lord is the one who's helped me through life, and I give him praise. So lastly, I just want to say we appreciate all of our first responders and their families who support them in their high-risk careers. But let's also think about the basic common sense and what it is best for the common good of all of our citizens and those who serve our citizens. Thank you.
Thank you. Alderman Hanauer.
Yeah, was this, that clause, was that something that was negotiated in on this contract, or was it just a standard thing that we're putting in all the contracts?
This is a negotiated term of the agreement, and just by way of, and I think we did talk a little bit about this, but to go over just briefly the purely legal issues involved. When the cannabis changes were made by the state, they made it, and I want to just take a minute and just go through this, but we've talked about it before, unlawful for an employer to refuse to hire or discharge any individual or otherwise disadvantage any individual with respect to compensation, terms, conditions, privileges of employment because of that individual's use of a lawful product. So now, other sectional provisions of the law provide that nothing prevents a public employer, where it involves law enforcement, correction officers, probationary officers, paramedics, or firefighters, from prohibiting or taking disciplinary action for use on or off duty, but it is subject to collective bargaining and the arbitration process, which is the reason why the requirement was to go through the collective bargaining process, because of the way the law is formulated. Now, the provision that is included provides for a firefighter or a fire personnel to utilize a legal product, a legal substance, cannabis, off-duty, provided, however, they may not be under the influence or otherwise be under the effect of that legal product while on duty or performing any services. So it's a provision that was negotiated or part of the negotiated process, and therefore is subject to just a vote of the council in terms of the, like any other collective bargaining provision.
So the next question, if you don't mind, Mayor.
Go ahead.
If we were to try to take that out, that would everything would have to go back into negotiation, correct?
Correct. You do not, to be clear, and again, I'm trying to be helpful here, the council does not negotiate individual provisions.
Right.
Therefore, the council's position would be either to reject the agreement in total or accept the agreement in total, recognizing there are some provisions that may or may not be satisfactory. For example, there were some provisions relating to certain operating requirements regarding, for example, minimum manning that are not included. And that was a topic you may recall that was pretty hotly, or I should say was pretty thoroughly discussed. And the consensus, my understanding, is from the fire department, and I don't want to speak beyond that, but there was a lot of discussion about it, and the feeling was this did not represent a safety risk, did not represent a safety risk. But that's something you may want to address to the department, but the issues were discussed, I would say fairly thoroughly, through that entire process. And the council is free to adopt it or not to adopt it.
We can't take something out.
No.
We have to either go as is or not.
That is correct. And the effect of adopting it, of course, is like any other provision, any other contract. The effect of rejecting it is to send it back for further in effect, further bargaining or perhaps arbitration.
Alderman Redpath and Alderwoman Conley.
So Corporation Counsel, this provision is no different than we have with our alcohol policy that provides that if police or fire show up on duty and are impaired and can't perform their duties, they'll be most likely disciplined or sent home and brought up for discipline situations. Is that correct?
That is correct. The city's longstanding policy with regard to all of these items has been that an employee, being on duty under the influence of anything, whether it's alcohol or any of the other at one time controlled substances, of which cannabis no longer falls in that category because of the change in the state law, would be subject to discipline.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Conley.
Thank you, Mayor. Corporation Counsel, maybe you can kind of explain, because there is actually even, is my understanding, there's a time frame around which anyone in the fire department can even use recreational marijuana prior to a shift.
36 hours. We just
Right, 36 hours for these.
Yes, ma'am, that is correct.
So it's not even the same, like, you can't show up. You have to have that cushion between, I don't know, a weekend and a workday.
Correct. Any other discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor.
Alderman McMinimum.
Yeah, Corporation Counsel, I think you kind of passed over a really important portion of that state law that basically gives the general rule that on-duty use and that off-duty use is generally not, cannot be disciplined. That's the general rule for employers. But then it makes out an exception for police, fire, and EMS. Is that correct?
Yes, it is.
So those first responders out there, we can have a general rule of no use on duty or no use off duty. And so that's what we should have accomplished here with this collective bargaining agreement. I think there's three around the horseshoe that have been first responders. We really need to set a high standard for first responders that use dangerous equipment, that have to exercise important judgment. And to say that there's a 36-hour period there where you can't use it, THC stays in your system for up to 30 days. If we go down the slippery slope and say that off-duty use for our firefighters is okay, we've got no enforcement method to really go after those that are impaired on duty. And impairment is very difficult to judge, even more so with cannabis than with alcohol. So I think we're going down a very slippery slope here if we pass this ordinance, this collective bargaining agreement. I think it's been correctly stated, we've either got to approve it in total or reject it in total. And if we send it back to arbitration, hopefully we can take out this permissive use for marijuana off duty. I think we're really in dangerous territory here. I think Beth Rogers mentioned that the volunteer fire department protected your home. Let's think about the volunteer fire departments. They can get, when that siren goes off, they got to be ready 24/7. 24/7, they got to be ready to respond. And I'm sure that the voluntary fire departments out there are going to say, hey, you can't use this on duty or off duty. You got to be ready to go no matter when. And so are we going to have a lesser standard for our fire department here in Springfield? And we know that they're always being called up for overtime and so forth. And our fire department has always stressed safety, safety, safety. Do you want someone next to you that, they're concealing their use, but they're not 100% there? So I think we're going down a really slippery slope here, and I hope we get some no votes here to send it back for further discussion.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. The motion passes 9 voting yes, 1 voting no. Next item on the agenda is number 2022-079, an ordinance authorizing tentative agreement.
7-8, Mayor.
Sorry. Yep. Next item on the agenda is 2022-078, an ordinance authorizing execution of a tentative collective bargaining agreement with the International Association of Machinists and Aerospace Workers, District Number 9, from October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2025. Chair will entertain a motion. Place agenda number 2022-078 on final passage.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? Alderman Redpath.
Just a point of clarification, is the tentative part of this, is they haven't voted on it, or can you tell me?
Excuse me, no, the only time that these matters are presented to the council is after it has been adopted by the union. So that's just the way it's stylized, is tentative until it's fully approved.
Okay.
Of which the last part is for the council's consideration.
Thank you.
Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion, vote yes. Those opposed, vote no. The voting is now open. And the ordinance passes 10 voting yes, none voting no. Next item on the agenda is 2022-079, an ordinance authorizing tentative agreement with the International Union of Operating Engineers, Local 399, Dolman Filter Plant from October 1st, 2020 through September 30th, 2023 for the Office of Public Utilities. Chair will entertain a motion to place agenda number 2022-079 on final passage.
Second.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. And the agenda item passes 10 voting yes, none voting no. Next item on the agenda is
Mayor?
Yep.
Could I
Alderman
ask for an
or
omnibus?
Hanauer.
Could I ask for an omnibus vote on 2022-082 through 2020-087, please?
Second.
There's an ominous vote, motion for an ominous vote for 2022-082 through 2022-087 and second. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Next item on the agenda is 2022-082, ordinance approving reappointment of Gary L. Hammonds to the Board of Managers of Oak Ridge Cemetery. 2022-083, an ordinance approving the reappointment of Kathleen E. Spindall to the Board of Managers of Oak Ridge Cemetery. 2022-085, an ordinance approving the reappointment of Andre Jordan to the Lincoln Library Board of Trustees.
Skipped one, Mayor, 84.
Whoop, getting ahead of myself. 2022-084, an ordinance approving reappointment of Christina D. Cray to the Lincoln Library Board of Trustees. Then did 2022-085, so 2022-086, an ordinance approving the reappointment of Helen Cox to the Lincoln Library Board of Trustees. And 2022-087, an ordinance approving reappointment of Kimberly Cochran to the Police Community Review Commission. Chair will entertain a motion to place those agenda items on final passage.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I don't know if any individuals are here in the audience. If you'd like to come up and introduce yourself, we'd appreciate it. And thanks for your patience.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my name is Gary Hammonds, and I serve as Vice President of the Cemetery Board. Yeah. And any questions?
Didn't we see you last week?
Yes, you did.
Welcome back.
Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your service.
All right. I appreciate your vote of confidence.
Thank you.
All right.
Congratulations.
All those in favor of the motion vote yes. Those opposed vote no. The voting is now open. The appointments passed 10 voting yes, none voting no. Chair will entertain a motion to suspend with the rules and place on first reading agenda number 2022-106, resolution supporting the leaders and people of Ukraine as they defend against Russia's massive military attack on their sovereign nation.
Moved. Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All,
I'd be added as a sponsor, please.
Me too.
Yeah, everybody.
Agree.
at everybody? Thank you.
Noted.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Is there any unfinished business come before the city council?
Mr. Mayor.
Alderman
on that,
McMiniman?
Training in motion, we can approve that tonight, can't we? Because it's a resolution rather than an ordinance?
Since that is it is a resolution, and in effect, it's a consensus of the council, I believe you could properly adopt that. You could not do an ordinance that does something because of the Open Meetings Act. So I do think you could, in the same way you could make a motion, an oral motion to say a consensus of the council. So if you would like to act on it, I do not believe that that is prohibited under the rules because it is not an ordinance. It's simply a resolution, a statement of policy or consensus.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we pass this with final passage.
Moved and second to pass the resolution with everyone present being a sponsor.
And congratulations to those that worked on this and put the wording together. It was well done.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. Motion carries. Do we have to take a formal vote, or does that cover it, Counselor?
You should go ahead and just take a roll call.
Okay.
Just as
roll call
just to
vote.
make it clear on the record.
Alderman Redpath.
He's he'll vote aye, I'm sure. He's a sponsor.
Are you voting for him?
No.
Gregory.
That's a slippery slope.
No, we don't do those things.
Alderman Gregory.
Aye.
Alderman Williams. Alderman Fulgenzi.
Aye.
Alderwoman Purchase.
Aye.
Alderwoman DeCenso.
Yes.
Alderman McMiniman.
Aye.
Alderwoman Connolly.
Aye.
Alderman Donlin.
Aye.
Alderman Hanauer.
Aye.
Mayor Langfelder.
Aye.
9 or 10,
Very good.
with the exception of.
Give him 30 seconds.
Well, thank you very much. Is there any unfinished business come before the council? Alderwoman DeCenso.
I just want to praise Deputy Mayor Kathleen Alcorn. I don't believe she's here tonight. Is
She's
she
hiding
here?
out back there.
She really helped me with a problem this week and, elevated it. So I just wanted to say thank you. It is really nice. I appreciate her service. I appreciate how attentive she is. I appreciate her reaching out to us every week. So praise where praise is due. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Kathleen Alcorn. I appreciate you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alderman Hanauer.
Yeah, Mayor, thank you. I just want to take this time to congratulate the Sacred Heart Griffin boys basketball team. It was a good thing that we canceled the St. Patrick's Day parade so everybody could go to Champaign and watch them.
The real reason comes out.
That's why.
Actually, it was
On the record.
They won in double overtime on a last-second shot that ended up being a top 5 in ESPN's top 10. So
Very cool.
it was very cool to be there, and I look forward to having them up here to congratulate them. And Springfield's had a great year.
Absolutely.
With athletics, the high school kids and the grade school kids as well. We're fortunate between last year with Springfield's baseball team and others. I don't want to say because I'll miss somebody, but this has been a great year, and I congratulate all the athletes that have been around. So.
I'm happy to do the all-city cheer if you want me to.
Oh, no, that's all right. Ruin a good moment.
Are you kidding me? That'd be the best moment of the night.
Alderman Gregory.
No, I agree with Alderman Hanauer. It's been a great year, and congratulations to SHG. And, NCAA tournaments coming on. We got some Springfield kids that definitely won their conference tournaments, earned a bid, Montana State, and some other kids. So this city's definitely got some young guys that went off to college and still representing us near and far. So we congratulate them, and we're just proud of this whole city altogether. So I appreciate you.
Thank
Mayor?
you. Go ahead.
Alderman Redpath has returned and voted aye for the Ukrainian
Had to go to the
resolution.
bathroom.
Thank you. And then Alderman Hanauer alluded to it, actually, the St. Patrick's Day Parade was rescheduled due to weather. But
not what he
I
said.
believe that
Not what he said.
what's good about it is better weather Saturday, but I believe the Cigar Griffin basketball team's going to participate in some fashion.
Good deal.
But that starts at the crack of noon on Saturday. Any other unfinished business? Alderwoman Conley and then Alderman McMiniman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm going to bring this under unfinished business because normally it's my Alderwoman DeSenso who brings these issues up, but I had a constituent whose pet was attacked by some unleashed, uncontrolled dogs. And from what and then another constituent who has an issue with some dogs that were seemingly abandoned. In both instances, I have concerns that animal control is taking the appropriate steps to make sure that that animals that are dangerous and that have injured another animal or a person need to be, I mean, they need to be more proactive about that. And I understand, I love my dogs. We have them in training and we have them on leashes for a reason. You know, good owners make good pets. So that's very concerning. And then also in a situation where a dog is being severely neglected, pictures that I wish I'd never seen, we need to make sure that those animals are removed from what, in my opinion, is an extraordinarily abusive situation. So again, just reiterating the importance of animal control in this community. It's critical. It's critical for people to feel safe walking. It's critical for dogs and cats to be treated as parts of the family instead of parts of a dysfunctional family. So,
Has the animal been removed, do you know? Or the situation rectified?
I have not gotten a final answer on either one of those. So just my constituent was talking about coming down and wanted to address the council, but I thought just if she didn't seem to be able to make it down tonight, so I just wanted to bring that up. It's extraordinarily upsetting to have, you know, especially a little small dog attacked and being unable to do something about that in the moment. It's a very scary situation. So
If you could, do you have Chief Scarlett the address or send to Communications Director for Everett and we can follow up on it?
Yeah,
Thank you.
we have another one.
Thank you.
Oh, Alderman McMiniman?
Well, that's not, Alderwoman DeSento's got a dog issue, which you'll address tomorrow.
I will.
When you get the more information. But my reason for we're asking, I just want to confirm, Mr. Clerk, do we have next Tuesday night off
Yes.
next week?
Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. Clerk. That's my main point. We don't
There's
work
a-
next Tuesday night.
No meeting next
Thank you.
Tuesday. It'll be we have 5 Tuesdays, so it'll be March 29th for the committee as a whole. Any Alderman Williams?
Yes, I've contacted my county representative, and she is setting up a meeting with Animal Patrol, because we had a dog incident too, of a vicious dog several times, but she has since found out there's been no ticket, no warning, no anything. She's upset, so she is setting a meeting up with myself, Brian McFadden, and their leadership over there. You're welcome to join, or I'll let you know, because you'll probably be working during the time that we actually meet. Also,
I'm willing to take some vacation time if you'd like some company.
Okay, I'll let you know then when that meeting is going to happen. So a year ago, I stood at the podium and got voted in by this group. I'm 1 year old as of today.
Wow, congratulations.
Working with you guys. I've learned a lot. And I
Day older.
just want to end this by saying I also have perfect attendance. I haven't missed a meeting, so.
You just jinxed yourself.
Any other new business? We do have one person signed up to speak, Jill Steiner. Would like to come forward?
Permission, we'd like to have a handout.
Sure.
I'm Jill Steiner. I'm a resident of Springfield in Ward 8. I misspoke last time I was here. It's okay, I will.
And you broke my heart.
I am representing ICON, sharing ICON's vision that everyone should live in a healthy and vibrant neighborhood. We continue to direct our collective energy towards accountability and action so that vision is a reality. Our 2022 focus is on neglected properties, garbage, and discarded bulky items. The city has ordinances to address each of these concerns. The city has processes for abatement and resolution, but there is a disconnect between intention and result. To that end, ICON continues to dialogue with city departments to understand the options and barriers to equitable neighborhoods in our city. Tonight, we'll share information learned from a presentation by Riley Potts, GIS Program Coordinator, and Joshua Ruffley, Planning Coordinator, both with Public Works. We appreciate their thoroughness, knowledge, and their time, and thank Director Bottom for his support. The City Works platform is an integral driver of process and results if it's used to its full potential. CityWorks has two main components, an asset management system, so think city infrastructure like streets and sewers, and a PLL system, think permits, licensing, and land related to ordinances and compliance by private citizens and companies. This PLL system makes citizen and alderman reports actionable. In 2015, the City Council adopted several ordinances to address garbage, properties, and large item disposal, along with recycling, grass, and general property upkeep. These ordinances should have and still could make permanent and lasting proactive and positive changes to our neighborhood. That sounds good, right? Perhaps those running for re-election even touted those ordinances change. As ICON now understands it, those ordinances could not have been implemented without a platform like CityWorks, and more specifically, CityWorks PLL. So where's the disconnect? The PLL system did not go live until July of 2018. The thought may have entered your mind that we're in a better place now, almost 4 years later, but the disconnect continues. Just a few months ago, this chamber approved an ordinance to lower from 3 years to 1 the length of time a property must become compliant. What we now understand is the workflow must be designed and set up on the PLL to support this ordinance. Staff must be trained, the system must be piloted, and then it can be used in support of the intent of the ordinance. Software implementation can take several years. During implementation and beyond, it must have a champion at the administrative level that is not affected by changes in administration. It takes stable funding for staff, training, and equipment. CityWorks is a powerful tool which can bring real change and lasting change. A platform like this needs its own infrastructure. It must have persons who have the bandwidth and the knowledge to bring it to fruition and monitor it. Succession, cross-training, cultural change, and engagement must be part of that structure. It must have the expectation of adoption and use by every employee and by every department that interacts with it. If your next thought is this is a department issue and the Director of Public Works can make this a priority or the mayor can make it a priority, that is true, and ICON will continue to track Public Works and this administration's follow-through on the CityWorks platform. So what's your role as an alderperson? During discussions on an ordinance that will have far-reaching neighborhood impact, ask what it'll take to do it, what resources are needed, who will be the champion, then act when all parties have shared input and are on the same page with expectations, resources needed, and an implementation timeline. City Council's responsibility does not end with the vote. Require regular updates and review of progress. Ask for data. Establish benchmarks, be accountable, and hold others accountable. ICON recommends that each member of City Council, senior leadership within the administration, especially departments that are key in the process, like Corporation Counsel and the Treasurer's Office, become more than conversant about CityWorks, because decisions made here do directly affect the outcomes and quality of life in our community. As part of ICON's commitment to supporting that best practices with CityWorks, we've researched to find similar cities who use CityWorks. Champaign does use CityWorks, and we have coordinated a meeting with the Champaign Public Works. ICON has obtained Champaign's operational manual, and tonight will be given to Public Works. We applaud Riley Potts for his interest in learning more on the behalf of our city. The meeting between the two city Public Works will be on March 29th at 2:30 p.m. via Zoom. On the handout, you will see what it takes to keep CityWorks train on the tracks. Please make note of the potential failure modes. We recommend that an independent group of stakeholders be constituted to proactively curb the identifiable failure modes. All stakeholders should keep implementation, consumer education, effective use of compliance, and public-facing transparency front and center. ICON will continue to come before City Council representing not just inner city neighborhoods, but all neighborhoods where their abatement and resolution are slow, delayed, or ignored. We'll ask this administration and you as our representatives to own and address the gap between intent and result, to provide all residents with a vibrant neighborhood free of loose garbage, discarded items, and distraught properties. Thank you for your time and attention.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Alderman Hanauer.
Thank you. I don't think it's any secret that we've been on Public Works to aggressively move forward with city works probably faster than what they're comfortable with doing. And to the point where I've asked Nate, look, if you need money in the budget to get more contractual services work or whatever, that's what needs to be done. And it's a great tool. And getting the online stuff done is critical to everyone. And I've seen it in action with people where we called it in and someone was over like a block away, and next thing you know, they're right there, almost before you can hang up the phone. So, I mean, Jill, that's, you know, what you said is true. We need to utilize this to its fullest, you know, as we move forward. And it's just a matter of you got to get staff trained, and that's not always easy. And rolling out something like this is a big task. And, you know, I guarantee other cities didn't roll it out any faster than us. It's hard to. And that's what, I used to roll out systems like this, and it is extremely hard. And it's hard to get buy-in from the people at the, you know, that work. So, much like we do on our, I mean, another side thing is on our collection stuff. We've still got, I've been told we still don't have everybody on that system alone. Mm-hmm. And it's been, what, 4 years, 5 years? Yep. And that should be a simple thing. So, and, you know, so Nate, keep it up. And again, like I've said, if you need more money, whatever we have to do to keep this thing rolling, you know, especially like the online permitting, the plans, all that, I think that's critical to this city. Thank you. And thanks, Jill, for bringing that up.
Yeah.
Nate will come with the schedule. Some of this has been done with regards to Cornerstone and other software systems. Databases have been consolidated, but you can give a report now or a later date, whichever your preference, but probably better to show them the bells and whistles, so to speak.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Riley Potts does an excellent job explaining the process and how far we've come along. But a lot of these, yes, those are our older systems in that exhibit, and we have consolidated to CityWorks on Public Works side. Also, a lot of departments are getting involved too. We have a CityWorks steering committee that we work together with ISD, electric and water distribution, and the fire department now has just joined us. So we're continuously trying to improve our operations and utilizing CityWorks to its fullest potential, as well as GIS. I was just talking with Police Chief Scarlett about adding some basically contacts for medical needs, and we're going to try to bring them in too. So we're trying to continuously improve our operations. We're very close on the PLL side of things with the 3 to 1 year, the 3 to 1 year for what Jill was just talking about earlier. And like I say, we can have Riley do a presentation if we need to moving forward.
Great. One thing I'd like to recognize Nate, not only for his good works, but also he has a cold, so he's wearing a mask, and we appreciate you not sharing your germs with everybody. But that is, you know, it's kind of humorous, but it's really important to make it through this flu season and you know, being cognizant of others and, you know, making sure you're keeping everybody safe. So we appreciate you doing that. Thank you.
Going on vacation.
Anybody else wish to address the council? Sure.
Oh, wow.
John's fan.
First off, I'll bring my fur coat, okay? Next time I come.
Is it cold in here?
It is cold in here. You can hang meat. And the gentleman behind me, I said the same thing. He's going to wear his deer hunting stuff, okay, when he comes again. But I want to apologize to Ward 2. Roy's brother, Williams' brother, Mike, bawled me out on Saturday and told me I had to do something right, and I said, okay. I've known Mike Williams for a long time, and we've done a lot of things in the neighborhood together, so I respect his opinion. I do apologize to you, but there is one thing I want you to know. You got kids growing up, they need to know how to protect themselves. Dad, okay? The other thing is, I think you guys really did wrong not sending the fire department's thing back. Have you ever been around somebody really high?
Uh-huh,
I knew you probably did.
absolutely.
But I think I have. I says, I've seen them high, I've seen them where they couldn't hold on to anything. And the fire department is very crucial when you have a fire, or when you have somebody that is caught in there and they're high and they don't know what to do. I have seen that happen too in Las Vegas, so we'll go beyond that. But I think we need to make it more, you can't use it at all. I don't care if you're on 24 hours or 32 hours or 76 hours, because it's crucial. But if I see a fireman come to my house that's high, he will not go in my house. I will let it burn down. That's my opinion. I have seen too much of this. I had a nephew that almost died from it. I had a husband that died of lung cancer because the stuff was laced with other stuff. This stuff you're getting now is not good. And I think they should all realize it, okay? And I don't like
It's
getting
actually the highest
high.
quality that's ever been out there because it's regulated and it's thrown into control.
Some of it isn't, hon. I have seen some of it, it's not. The neighbor across the street was kicked out of his house because he had the other stuff, okay?
Today, that's meth. That's not marijuana. That's illegal. Marijuana is legal.
It's not meth. I said marijuana. And remember, there's a difference. Even meth can be laced with fentanyl. So good night, guys. Have a beautiful week off.
Totally off the subject.
Yeah, but see, I know what it is to be shoot up, okay? You don't.
I don't know what it is to
Anybody
shoot up,
else
Alex.
wish to address the council? Is there a motion for adjournment?
Move, Mayor.
Second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. We're adjourned. Thank you.
Those are nice, Jim. Thank you.
No, that was from the mayor.
Oh, thank you very much. Oh, thank you.
I'll check on it.
Well,
That's pretty good, isn't it?
how are you?
Good, how are you? Did you get Joey's text?
Oh, I don't know, probably, I may have.
6:40? You called Joey at 6:40?
Okay, I will,
Appreciate
I will. I'll see it when I get home.
Thanks, Alderman.
Set it up, no
Groovy,
problem.
thank you very much.